My name is Ben Wildavsky, and I'm delighted to tell you about my research into the connection between degrees, targeted skills, and the importance of building social capital for career success. The premise I'm starting with is that there's a lot of anxiety today about education and the value of degrees. In the United States and around the world, there are significant concerns about a skills mismatch between post-secondary graduates and employers. Meantime, a lot of public discussion focuses on the need for short-term, affordable, career-focused education and training. Almost every day, we hear about how skills are the new currency. There have been many calls for a focus on skills-based hiring. The overall paradigm often continues to be presented as a choice between traditional academics or very practical career preparation, the philosopher versus the welder. But what I found in my research, and the key point I'm making, is that this is a false dichotomy that is not helpful to people who are striving for economic progress and upward mobility. We need to move away from an either-or approach to degrees or vocational training and instead embrace a both-and perspective to acquiring broad education and targeted skills. That's what the labor market is asking for, and there are many different ways to get there. College degrees still have a lot of value. So do high-quality non-degree credentials, and they can be mixed together very effectively. The third key point I've been investigating, you might call it the third leg of the stool, is social capital. My argument is that education and skills are necessary but not sufficient. Large numbers of people, especially those from low-income and disadvantaged backgrounds, need to develop access to networks and the ability to tap into those networks to connect their education and training to meaningful workforce opportunities. In other words, my research is intended to refute the widespread and very misleading notion that there is a direct trade-off between going to college and acquiring practical job skills. Instead, I identify the blend of broad education, targeted skills, and social capital that's needed to support real-world career aspirations. I had a fascinating time working on this research, from finding the most relevant statistics, to identifying the best examples and case studies, to conducting in-depth interviews. I'm a journalist by background, and I still do a lot of interviews for my Higher Ed Spotlight podcast. So I find it incredibly valuable to talk to academic experts, university leaders, and students to understand how all the pieces fit together. In my book, The Career Arts, Making the Most of College, Credentials, and Connections, I've tried to create a pretty accessible guide that will be useful to students, to parents, to counselors, to education leaders, and to policymakers. I'm also very excited about bringing my research to a global audience because the questions and ideas I've explored about the best way to connect broad education and targeted skills to careers are being discussed all over the world. For my previous book, The Great Brain Race, I traveled to China, India, the Middle East, and Western Europe to explore the unprecedented expansion of global higher education. Since then, I've seen lots of evidence, including when I spoke at Monash University in Australia. There's intense interest everywhere in new ideas for connecting education, skills, and careers, whether that's micro-credentials, internships, or finding ways to reiterate and improve the long-term value of degrees. There's also a lot of desire to build human capital and strengthen social capital to make sure that education continues to be a tool for social mobility. I love talking about this work and engaging in discussions about it. I think it really matters to help people make more educational and economic progress.